Well, let's talk a little bit about some guitars.
About
yeah,
what?
we're going to talk about like some guitar stuff now.
Okay, guitars. Yeah.
You've been, the most closely associated with the Gibson Les Paul. What is it about the Les Paul that appealed to you? Why did it become your guitar?
Well, when I first started playing, the first electric guitar that I ever got was a Les Paul copy made by Memphis Guitars, and I think I was attracted to the Les Paul probably more than anything because certain individuals played it, and I liked the way that they played. So it was almost like I liked it for aesthetic reasons, and I liked it because whoever was playing it seemed to sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I like Strats, and I think Strats are great, and there's a couple other guitars I like the looks of, but the Les Paul was really, really appealing to me. And so I got that Les Paul copy, and I got a little Fender vintage amp. I can't remember what it was, like a twin or something. And I had an old MXR distortion box and plugged that in, and I played Cat Scratch Fever. And I was like, okay, I've arrived. That was the sound for me. And so I made a lot of different twists and turns for a couple of years, trying out different things and experimenting with different things. But at one point in Guns N' Roses, in the beginning of Guns N' Roses, I ended up with Steve Hunter's old 59 reissue or whatever. And that was it. That was just, it was my sound, it was my look, and it established itself. And I have never changed since.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of, in a weird way, it was almost sort of a ballsy move to be playing a Les Paul, because at that time when, the early days, what was popular coming up on the Strip and everything were more Strat-style guitars. I mean, did you feel like it distinguished you, too?
No, I didn't think anything. I mean, when I first came up, the sort of Eddie Van Halen craze had really picked up full steam, and I was influenced by guitarists that were from a different era, right?
Like
like Page and Keith Richards and Mick Taylor and all that kind of stuff.
All that. Yeah.
So I was shooting for this more bluesy sound that's harkened back to those days. So everybody was doing the Charvel Jackson thing, and a Les Paul was just what I was about, and I didn't really even ever stop to think about the contrast, what everybody else was doing and what I was doing. And some guys would say, that's sort of dated. I remember having a conversation at a guitar store once that Les Paul was sort of dated, but I think it was part of the whole attitude. I was like, fuck you, I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
take us through how the Slash Signature series, both Gibson and Epiphone, came about, and how much input did you have in creating them?
The Gibson, the Epiphone and the Gibson series, Gibson asked me if I wanted to do a signature guitar, which we'd done a couple different ones over the years, but nothing that was like, that we mass produced or anything. It was more personal guitars for me.
Right.
And so when they asked me this time, I was like, I want to make a tobacco flame top with a thin neck with Seymour Duncan Alnico 2 pickups in it, because those are my favorite pickups, and relatively heavy guitar, because I just, from experience, it seemed like heavy guitars sound better, right? But and that was basically it. And I wanted old hardware, and so we did the first one, which is this one right here. So just a fucking awesome sounding guitar. The first prototype they gave me, I actually used, right? And then the Epiphone was modeled basically identically to it. It's a little less expensive, but the pickups and the neck are the same,
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened there. Then they asked if we could do a Inspired By, which is modeled. It's identical to the 1988 Les Paul that I used on the road from '88 on.
Right.
In every concert. And I gave them the original, and it was all beat to shit, and it has cigarette burns and all these kind of cracks and belt buckle scratches, and it's pretty thrash guitar. But I gave it to them, and they actually duplicated it to the letter, which there's one inside the Guitar Center right now. Mm-hmm. And so those were the first signature models, and then we've got 2 new ones coming out, which is a gold top and a Gibson USA gold top and an Epiphone gold top. Right. And the cool thing about these 2 guitars is
right over here.
At some point in 1991, for songs like Estranged and November Rain and Sweet Child of Mine and Knocking on Heaven's Door, I did these solos where I turned the tone knob all the way down, and they would just be these long, notey, very sweet, creamy solos with a lot of sustain. And I found that the gold top was the best for that. It's a really great sounding guitar with humbuckers in it, not the soap bars. So I had that gold top all through the Use Your Illusions tour for those songs.
Right.
After the tour was over, and I did a band called Snake Pit and toured around, and I had a studio in my house at one point, and all my guitars got ripped off out of the studio. And I subsequently got all the guitars back except for one, which was the 1991 gold top. So I asked Gibson if they could reissue that guitar, remake that guitar, just for me personally. But they decided to make a commercially accessible version of it. And I've got 2 at home, and they sound amazing. And the one cool thing about the gold top is the tone knobs are done in such a way that you can taper all the high end off and still have as peak volume. And
this is on the Gibson one.
Yeah, these are. So it's a very cool feature on those guitars.
Awesome. Okay, I mean, you've had a lot of career highs and stuff, but you must admit it's pretty badass to have your own guitar, your own signature.
It is cool. You look down, it's got your name on it.
Yeah. If there was a Brad Talinsky guitar, I would be pretty impressed with.
I'm surprised you don't have one. But it's cool too because it's made the way that I would want it to play. The neck is a certain way, and it's very cool.
Yeah, actually, everybody out here, this is sort of cool because this is the first time these guitars are being seen here. This is one is a limited edition / Epiphone gold top. There's only going to be 2,000 of those made, and the other one is the limited edition Gibson gold top. Only 1,000 of those are going to be made, and they look like they're going to be pretty cool. Is there a difference between the pickups on the 2 guitars, or
they both have the same pickups?
They both have the Alnicos. What about
That's an important part of getting that sound is those pickups.
Right.
They're sort of lower output pickups, so they're a little gritty, but they're not they're not totally heavy metal sounding. Where the output's max to they're sort of middle ground kind of thing. So,
how did you stumble across the Duncans?
Those particular pickups were in the guitar that I used for Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, right.
And they just happened to be in this guitar, which was not even made by Gibson. It was a Gibson replica, 59 replica. And my manager gave it to me right when I was going in to do the overdubs for Appetite. And I desperately needed a permanent guitar, and it just sounded great. And so I stuck with those pickups ever since.
Now, this is sort of one of those obligatory guitar questions, but I think the answer is sort of interesting. You've used, for the last 20 years, you've just used Ernie Ball strings, right?
Yeah.
What gauge do you use?
I use a custom gauge 11 to 46.
I think that's sort of interesting because, most guitar players, rockers, use 9s, 10s. You use 11s, right?
Yeah.
And so what makes a difference? Why use the heavier gauge?
It's not something that I even experimented with. I used to work in a guitar store at one point and was very familiar with different gauges because of all the different guitars that we had on display and whatnot. And I'm a hard player. I hit very hard when I play. So I need something that bites back.
Right, yeah.
That's the philosophy.
Actually, you do get, I think, more tone out of that heavier. Sorry for being so nerdy, everybody. This is a guitar interview, by the way.